Hello, Rejects! Hello, Rejectville!
Rejectville.
I'm Greg.
I'm John.
So we're going to continue our weekend of horror of the month of October on the Real Rejects channel, and we wanted to also include one of our other new segments called How It Could Work. How It Could Work is a segment I came up with where we'll take remakes, reboots, sequel ideas, things that have been talked about or recently announced or potential crossovers. We'll pitch our idea for how we think those films could work.
Here's how this could be cool.
And we thought for Weekend of Horror, we would go with one of the remakes that's been announced in the past few months, and that is the American Psycho reboot.
Oh boy.
How it could work.
Do we know what their idea is right now?
You didn't let me do the joke that we said we were gonna do.
What joke that we said we were gonna do?
You don't do it.
Huh? What are you talking about?
This guy's. I was gonna say, here's how it could work. You don't do it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you fucked it up.
Go back.
Nope, too late now. I don't believe in retakes. No, I don't know what their idea is. They don't have any specific ideas. What I was telling John before we filmed this video was I feel that, if anything, if they do a remake of American Psycho, it should be sort of in the vein of how they've remade Scarface. Not like, you can make it about a gangster. How the original Scarface movie was about a very specific gangster in a very specific time, and it was a different movie, but it had the same kind of structure of the rise and fall of a gangster. I feel with American Psycho that they shouldn't do Patrick Bateman again. You just can't do that. There's the one guy who can do that, and that was Christian Bale. It's already been done. Yeah. Let it be. I don't think anyone would be on board for it. But then John actually came up with an idea that I like John's idea of what he actually came up with.
Oh, thank you. I mean, well, the thing about remaking American Psycho for me is I feel like the stuff that's potent actually are the themes. It's not like Point Break where I'm like, I don't see the point unless you have those people. Yeah, if you do a different guy and you just take the same themes of what capitalism means to us now and materialism means to us now and the sort of disconnect, I think you can make something really cool. So my idea would be to basically make it about a Martin Shkreli type now. And if you don't know who Martin Shkreli is, just Google who Martin Shkreli is, and you'll find a million results. But in a nutshell, he's a big pharmaceutical business entrepreneur. He's kind of known for being a life troll, essentially. And that's who I would want to set an American Psycho story around if it was me doing it. This guy who's clearly made enough success for himself that he doesn't have to give a shit about anybody.
Martin Shkreli, I was looking him up. He had a pharmaceutical company, and there was these pills, these really strong medication used to treat cancer patients. And they averaged about $1.50, $1.75 per pill, and he spiked it about 5,000%, where it was about $750 per pill. Beyond just knowing that one fact, it's his interactions that I saw him do in his interviews and him in front of Congress that really kind of shocked me the most. Was he was in front of Congress. Shit ton of people, the whole room is packed. He's considered the most hated man in America at this moment. Any question he was asked, he would just plead the fifth. He would just plead the fifth, and he would do it with
increasingly slimy.
Yeah,
ways.
Slimy, narcissistic. He just
sarcastic.
He would mock them. He would laugh at them and smile when he really shouldn't have been. He was kind of holding an evil mirror up to their face in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there's a blatant disrespect there for one reason or another.
Yeah, and he's an interesting guy because a lot of people like him. He has a shit ton of Twitter followers.
Well, because he's interesting to watch.
After watching interviews with him, he is kind of a good next step of a Patrick Bateman. Okay, let's establish who Patrick Bateman is for a while. Patrick Bateman, he worked on Wall Street. He was very much image obsessed. It was all about satisfying a certain image. Mm-hmm. And then
it's all about your appearance and the appearance of your success and what's on the outside and the minutia.
And then he would kill for his thrills. He was an empty guy, and he would kill to get his kicks. What makes Martin Shkreli so different is that he is also young. He's not Patrick Bateman was a fairly young character, and this guy is also young, but he's not. He doesn't come across in the same way where Patrick Bateman really cared about what people thought about him. Mm-hmm. And he really cared about his image. This guy, Martin Shkreli, to base it off a type like him would be really interesting because his status is much more public. He's much more popular. Patrick Bateman was this guy who was kind of always trying to get higher, and there were people who he felt were really above him, and he hated that. this guy believes he is number one.
Patrick Bateman is the reflection of that kind of guy, and
that
our
time too,
and our society in that time, and I feel like Martin Shkreli is a guy who is a good dark mirror for now, because you have that added level of attention and narcissism because of social media and because of the news and whatnot. But he's also
a master manipulator.
Yeah, it seems like
he's a master manipulator. Because granted, he got fired from his company, but he still like has so much money. He's not someone who will ever say he did anything wrong. He's not like Trump in the sense where Trump, you know, you say something to him and he just starts yelling at you. Martin Shkreli is more the kind of guy who he knows how to provoke you. Yeah. He knows how to provoke you and laugh at you. Anytime he's about to be proven wrong or questioned on something, he can just provoke you even more.
It seems like Trump still cares what you think, whereas, yeah, Martin Shkreli is just going to kind of take any opportunity to kind of poke right back at you.
I think a big thing in our society right now is, like, internet trolling. And it's a very, you know, really talked about thing on, like, I hear it all the time on, like, TV or comics talk about it or whatever. I feel like he is the definition of that troll that we get to see. Whereas opposed to most trolls, you don't know what they look like. We usually assume there's some fat dude behind a computer. This guy is like the most public troll you'll ever see. Like,
he takes to Twitter and picks fights with people.
John was showing me how like Wu-Tang Clan had this like very special album. They only released one album of it, and he bought it for a shit ton of money. And then he started fighting with Wu-Tang Clan. He even tried getting Kanye West's album. The reason why he's kind of scary too is because he is intelligent. I was watching this documentary about him, and this guy has a wide set of skills, a wide variety of knowledge. I would like to see that more in terms of
clearly has high-class interests.
He's the definition of a guy who takes knowledge as power to an evil extreme.
Yeah, it seems like he does these sort of maniacal things seemingly for the fun of it because he knows he's smarter than you.
Yeah, that's what makes him scary, because it's like it's kind of hard to fight with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he kind of knows how to like counteract, whether it through some base of logic, or he'll know how to get a rise out of you instead.
Well, yeah, and you know that no matter how good your argument might be, he's not gonna let you win. That would be an interesting character study, because in a way, American Psycho is a character study. And when I see this guy, the more I see this guy, the more I wonder, who are you when you're just alone at home? And that's the kind of fascinating thing you could explore with something like American Psycho.
Yeah, it's like this idea that you came up with is like if it was like kind of like Martin Shkreli, and you found out that when he's alone, he's also a serial killer.
You explore who he is, and that's one facet of that. That's one of the bits that we don't see, and that's the fantasy of the movie. Is that's how it would be a remake, basically, as we touched on. Like, you kind of follow the basic plot structure. He kills somebody, and then somebody, the Willem Dafoe, whoever we replace Willem Dafoe with, comes to investigate it.
Yeah.
And you use that loose plot line. And then the rest is just, a dark mirror to modern narcissism and materialism. And
I feel like it would be cool to make it a little meta in terms of, like, it would be funny if, like, in casual passing, like, you see that he owns a copy of American Psycho. You get, like, an actual celebrity in there to play themselves, who, like, this Martin Shkreli type likes to antagonize.
It seems like the guy would have seen American Psycho and can tell you why he thinks Patrick Bateman... Like, not that he would necessarily cop to thinking Patrick Bateman's a good character, but be like, yeah, I can tell you what I admire about Patrick Bateman, whereas usually it's not where your conversation would start.
And in terms of the killing aspect of this, we didn't really discuss beforehand. We wanted to kind of brainstorm a little bit in front of the camera. We didn't
Keep it off the cuff.
We didn't discuss beforehand, but I was thinking in terms of him being a killer. I remember Patrick Bateman was more of like, he just got the job done pretty fast. He takes an axe to Jared Leto and he just fucking annihilates him.
Well, and he seems like he has these violent urges that he's always keeping, just percolating below the surface.
It's like getting that orgasm in. You know? Like, I just gotta come. Like that kind of feeling about with killing that he kind of has.
But he is a clean, methodical guy, so that's that's how it comes out.
I would like to see a guy who's not as fast in terms of his killing. Like one of the shows I really loved that I've seen is Dexter. I think it'd be kind of neat to see a guy who does take his time a little bit more with his victims. One thing that was neat about American Psycho is that while it's sadistic and while it's violent, you don't really see much of what happens. He takes an axe to Jared Leto in the movie, but you don't ever see Jared Leto get hit with the axe, And the same thing with like a woman who he drops a chainsaw on. You don't see that happen, but you can feel it. I think it'd be cool to have a little bit of a balance of times where you don't see it and times where you actually do see it. Because I feel like with the violence we get nowadays, like we can kind of get away with seeing a little bit more of that violence. We're not going too gratuitous to it. We're at the point where the violence takes away from psychological study of his character.
There's an argument to be had about how to approach the violence in a remake like this, and as I'm imagining it now, I almost feel like I would have it be spare, you know, it wouldn't be like a slasher movie, but I would kind of want, not the tone of Drive, but you know how like every time there's a violent moment in Drive, it's like, whoa, that's very real, like it feels real, like that's what I would want for this, is like to have that added psychological of what real violence looks like, especially now that we have so many violent movies. There are more and more PG-13 action movies that feel violent, but without the consequences. I would want to show that violence real, just so that it's very jarring.
And I would like his status to be higher in the public eye. Like, I imagine he's the kind of guy who would probably study things like self-help books or personal development stuff, but really manipulate it.
I feel like he would be doing like pickup artistry stuff.
Yeah, maybe. No, that's why when we first talked about this, I said I imagine Tom Cruise from Magnolia.
Okay. yeah.
That study of mentality of how people work and how to really manipulate them.
Dude, you could totally recreate the Paul Allen scene just with that Wu-Tang album.
Yeah.
Do you like the Wu-Tang Clan?
And I don't imagine him being a guy who's like super physically strong, where like Patrick Bateman was someone who was very fit and very buff. I would imagine he's a healthy guy, you know, like
he seems like a regular lanky 30-something with maybe like I can't get
he walks around New York and shit, and
like I can't get a read. Not that I, you know, like I don't know the guy. I don't know what his attention to health would be, and that's another sort of interesting thing to explore is what would his.
I imagine he takes care of himself. One thing I really liked about seeing Martin Shkreli, like in terms of covering this subject, was he can kind of get you to believe him sometimes.
Yeah,
like a little bit when he's doing his interviews and. Where he's like, you know, some people make me out to be an evil guy, but the truth is I really do care about people. But then when he starts talking, you're like, maybe he's telling the truth. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who this guy is.
And I think that'd be cool in a movie to see kind of a portrayal like that, where you're questioning, is there good in this guy at all? That's in the tune of the sociopath, the psychopath that he is. Because that's what I liked about calling the film American Psycho was it is a study of a psychopath. And I would like to see an even deeper psychological study of that. You know,
who is today's psychopath, and why does he kill versus why did Patrick Bateman kill? You know.
Yeah.
Because those are the things that would make it a worthwhile. You update it for now.
With the Patrick Bateman tale, we didn't really know why he killed or why he killed the way he did. Because usually when a serial killer becomes a serial killer, kind of a ritual, it's a little bit more specific as to why they kill a certain way or why they choose their victims to be these kind of people. It would be interesting to see specifically learn a little bit about why he actually does the killing.
I think it's just
not a lot. I don't want to too much on it, but just a little bit.
I feel like it's a combination of like he keeps talking about it is in the original movie about how empty, how he's not. There's nobody there, you know.
I'm talking about like upbringing.
Oh, I see.
And like the trauma that's been inflicted in him and his development that has caused him to become a killer. There's an argument there because one might say that'll take away a lot of the fear and the mystery as to why he is that person. But then at the same time, though, I'm like, I can't help but feel that I would be a little interested to see why he does become that way.
I wouldn't want to explain it, per se, but I would want to subtly at least inject.
You know, like how Maniac, it makes it clear as to why he kills and why he does the killings the way he does them.
But it doesn't take away from why it's scary.
But it's not like he has a victim and he's like, you know what happened to me when I was younger. He's not like telling his life story to a victim, you know?
Well, and in Maniac, those scenes kind of serve to make it all the more conflicting because you're like, I feel kind of sorry for this guy even though he's terrible, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't support him in any way.
And I think it would be cool if they did honor the weird tone.
Oh, yeah.
Because I love that American Psycho has a very kind of surrealness about it. This is seen through the world of Patrick Bateman.
You're in this guy's head.
Yeah.
This is all from this guy's perspective.
But instead of seeing a normal world and then we're focusing on this guy, I think it would be cool to see it from his perspective, see the world how he sees them and stuff,
and have the style of the movie reflect that too, you know, like that would give you a chance to then have your own style that's more based on now. And
I really do think that making him more of a public figure would make him different already and more interesting, because Patrick Bateman's not a public figure in American Psycho. Mm-hmm. And I think it'd be cool to have a guy who like does have like a Twitter following and his reputation is like one of the most evil people in America and stuff.
See,
but then to have interviews where he's like, I just don't believe I'm evil, you know?
He seems like the perfect level of that kind of guy for me right now, because it's like, yeah, people know who he is, but it's always just when he's doing something like his own kind of shitty thing. It's not like he's an actor or something where he's everywhere all the time. It's just like you kind of know who he is and you hear about him sometimes. And I feel like that's the level of celebrity you could get away with American Psycho with.
The only stuff we have of him losing his shit are Twitter rants.
Yeah.
We don't have footage of him losing his shit, you know?
I don't know what that guy looks like when he's
when he's like truly riled up. Like, we only have like tweets. We don't have like video of him like completely losing it. That's when I think it might be cool and in tune with kind of how Patrick Bateman was, because when Patrick Bateman kills, he tends to lose his shit.
Yeah.
You know, and that might be the time when he does lose his shit, as opposed to just being a cool, calm serial killer.
There would be some shit losing in this movie. That is part of the fascinating contrast, is sort of like, oh my!
Yeah.
This very calm, like, super collected guy is now being so vicious.
So to sum it up, what we would imagine for an American Psycho reboot of how we think it could work, and this was our first time attempting a video like this, so excuse if we were a little all over the place.
It'll get shaped as we do more of these.
What we basically imagine is that it's a Martin Shkreli like type with similar themes, but more modern day. The exploration of his lifestyle would be different, who he is would be different. It would just be a different kind of high power, money hungry kind of guy in, you know, the 2000s.
Just a different movie with the same themes, you know?
Because
that's all they're doing, is they're exploring the sort of poster child for American capitalism.
And I imagine him to be gay. I don't mean that in like a homophobic way at all. I don't want to upset anyone. I know that Patrick Bateman, you know, like explored his sex life, and for some reason, this interpretation, I imagine that he would be homosexual. But I don't mean that in a way like gay people are the killer. I just don't want that to come across.
Well, no.
And it's just his sexual orientation.
I think what I would do if I was running with that is sort of like, I would play with toxic masculinity, I guess, at that point. This is where we're delving more into the purely fictional, because I have no idea what his actual, you know, love life is like. But yeah, it's like, if I was gonna do that, I would make it so that he can't confront those thoughts, and that's part of what contributes to him doing these horrible things. And in fact, you could maybe have him get too close to an encounter and kill somebody because of that. And then you have an exploration of how, you know, that kind of toxic masculinity and the way it forces you to kind of crush yourself down can have horrible consequences and whatnot.
And I guess the last thing we would cover on this is who we think could probably play this guy. I haven't put any thought into this. I just came up with a question right now.
Who would play him?
Who would play a Martin Shkreli?
Michael Cera.
Michael. Probably get some British dude to play an American like Christian Bale.
Not even American.
Andrew Garfield.
That's a good question. I'm gonna have to think for a while on that, I think.
I actually don't know who would play him. Jesse Eisenberg. He was Lex Luthor for us. Yeah, let us know what you thought of this American Psycho reboot idea, or, you know, put down your own idea of what you think they should do. I know some of you are going to be like, just don't do it. And yeah, that's how we essentially feel too, is just don't do it.
Actually, the more we talked about it, the more I think that this is one
work.
that and that's another thing that I think this show will probably have, is by the end of it, do we still think it can or can't work? You know, and why? They remade Carrie, and that bummed me out, because that was one I saw where I was like, you could totally update the themes and tell a new version of that story and have it be worthwhile. And American Psycho, I can kind of see that now.
Is it necessary? No, but no fucking film ever is necessary.
It's not like Poltergeist, where you're like, well, I don't really see the point, because what new shit can you bring to this other than like drones?
Yeah, but I think with American Psycho, if you're gonna remake Patrick Bateman, then there's no point.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna explore the themes of American Psycho in a different character study, then I could see how it could be worth someone's time.
Totally.
And you bring back Mila Kunis.
Yeah, exactly.
And William Shatner. I think they should just pick up from where American Psycho 2 left off.
Yeah, there you go.
Just continue with that. They should do a crossover with Mila
S.
Kunis.
Darko. Just bring some S. Darko stuff in there too. Just get all the sequels people don't like.
Alright guys, if you're new to the channel, subscribe today, become a reject. John is the social media manager at facebook.com/Bloomhouse and facebook.com/TheRealRejects. I want to give a shout out to Andy Signor. I don't care what people say about your weight. I think you're a sexy motherfucker.
He's a sexy guy.
He's a sexy guy, incredibly charming.
Seems sweet.
When we went on Andre's Black Nerd Comedy Show on Screen Junkies, which of course I can't remember the title of the show right now, which is great for us. Make a movie get together. And he was like touching me and like hugging me, Andy. I couldn't help but feel very good about myself.
The way you phrase that. You got a whole different
Yeah,
mental
that's
image.
how I would say it in a courtroom too.